Yeah, so we have an e-piano sound now. So we have the low mid range where, for instance, this here responds together with this. A little addition band for the low mid. And we have, and that's driven by this too in a complicated way, by comparing 9 bands of non-FFT filtered material with this FFT filtered material, and the decision is made here by an expansion, compressing, and gating meter. Very complicated principle. So all these go together and are compared with an FFT and are dynamically processed, and then in the end it comes here. If this total is enough, it comes here and it pops up through a gate. This here is per band compressed. At minus 20 dB, and that is somewhere in the middle of the whole algorithm. Before a lot of processing that is doing stupid reflections, horrible notch filtered tube bands, which have to do with the sampling, which is for warning or for encoding things. It's not really a pleasant effect if you don't tune the music to it. And this, together with some other things, goes into a multilimiter, which is then gated on top of the signal. That's a bit complicated, but that's what it does. So all these bands, which are then compressed, coming from another low and mid averaging effect, and together with this high, but I don't do much high at the moment. So you could see a little high here, but that averaging doesn't do much because these sounds, they don't contain all too much high frequency content at the moment. At least not that it works much with this. All that comes together and goes then in an added band, which is as it were, when the music gets loud in 4 frequency bands separate, then there's a subtraction from the signal of that loudness. That's a mastering trick that's on now. Again, the instrument should play with that, or in the ideal case it should respond properly. Well, this instrument is digitized at 48 kilohertz at the moment, which is not ideal because I had no other input available, which sometimes creates a tick in the sound even, which is really unprofessional. And this sound is prepared for some acoustical things, and it contains one sampling element that this setup can pick out, but it's not really prepared for this setup. So I should play a good HD track or even a CD on the whole setup to make very clear why all those bands are and what the other machines do, but that's useless at the moment. So it's an impression of the effect, but it's not a good match. The instrument is not really playing along with the effect as such. So that could make it a useless demonstration, but it's also fun to see what is happening. Part of the first part that I didn't show is that a part of the signal goes analog through different DA converters, a 48 kilohertz 24, 44116 and a 96 kilohertz 24 bits, and all those signals are dynamics processed a bit and are in a specific way equalized, then mixed together, go through a surround lexicon effect. And then comes back in the analog, and the rear part of the surround lexicon effect is also used in the later part of the signal processing graph. Goes in here too, for instance, and this those low-mid separate subbands where an FFT effect is compared with a non-FFT filter bank. I play through a huge delay, so that's very hard. And it's, I'm just playing with an effect that can change motion in music, because that's a very complicated setup, and that's one of the things it can do. It can change all kinds of subtle sound parameters. Whether it's doing that right at the moment, certainly not entirely.